The Outlaw Posse. That's you. The common Joes and Sallies and know even more so than all those media talking heads. And when y'all have a question, I like to try to answer and address it. And this one comes from Brady Williams, one of our loyal Outlaw Posse members. And his question was to me, Jalen Hurts, can he be claimed more by Alabama or Oklahoma? Because there's been a little tick for tack going back and forth between the Alabama fans and Oklahoma fans as they both try to claim Jalen Hurts and him being in the Super Bowl this year. And my answer was pretty short and sweet. Not trying to hedge here, but Alabama, he did graduate from Alabama, so he is technically an alumnus of the University of Alabama, although he finished his career at Oklahoma and developed more into a passing type quarterback of what we see today in the Super Bowl. And so, like I said, not trying to hedge here, but to me, it seems like both teams should be able to claim Jalen without any arguing whatsoever. So let's just say that Jalen Hurts is of the Crimson Nation. Now, the topic of the day is the Big 12 scheduling that just came out. Did Oklahoma and Texas get screwed? Who got the better end of the deal in all of this? Let's talk about it. Here we come, riding in again on that Outlaw Posse once again, riding in for another great episode of the OCF. That's the Outlaw of College Football. That's me, JPC. That's spelled J-E-S-S-E without the I. Jesse Paul Clark on Facebook. Also on Twitter at OCF Productions. Now getting right to it, the topic of the day is the Big 12 scheduling has just came out. Finally, they get it out there. There was a lot of people that were wondering why it was taking so long. Now, I know you're integrating 4 new teams, but you've had a few months to get this in check. And so it had a lot of people thinking, even myself, that maybe there was something going on as far as maybe Oklahoma and Texas leaving very early for the SEC. But it doesn't seem like that's the case now because the schedules did come out. And I'm going to throw a few of them up here in a few seconds. But to me, it looks like the one person that to me got a little jabbed in all this, and while I know a lot of people do not feel sorry for Texas, I think Texas got a little jabbed in this. You can see their schedule here. They're at Baylor, Kansas, then they play Oklahoma and Dallas, at Houston, BYU, Kansas State, at TCU, at Iowa State, and then Texas Tech at home. The big thing I have a problem with here is the fact that they sent them to Houston. And I know good and damn well that Texas has had issues in the past with playing games in Houston because of a situation that occurred. I don't have the finer details of it. From what I get and the gist I get from it was some of the Texas fans, where they were seated in the stadium was an unsafe area, and maybe the bleachers maybe collapsed or tried to collapse or something like that. You guys and gals can fill me in on that in the comments section, but nevertheless, there were some safety issues. It wasn't because Texas was being elitist and didn't want to go to Houston like a lot of people try to claim with Texas. Texas, I've had my issues with Texas as well. But in this case, I think they were jabbed a little bit, having to go to Houston. And then they have them back-to-back games with the 2 teams that were in the Big 12 championship game, Kansas State and TCU. So that's a pretty arduous task too. But not to mention they play Alabama in week 2 in non-conference. Now looking at the Oklahoma schedule, Oklahoma is at Cincinnati, plays Iowa State, Texas, UCF, Kansas, at Oklahoma State, West Virginia, BYU, at BYU, and TCU. Oklahoma's schedule doesn't really look like they tried to put the screws to them too much. Although I'm wondering why they have to travel to Cincinnati to open conference schedule with a new team that hasn't really earned their stripes in the Big 12. Why would Oklahoma have to go to Cincinnati? Why does anybody in this conference have to pick up a road game with these newbies? Now, I know you can't have them all scheduled out to play road games against every single Big 12 school, but I think that they should have probably made them play more road games, maybe give them just one or two since they're new to the conference. Also, like I said before, and I know this pisses a lot of people off outside of Oklahoma and Texas and the Big 12 and the Irate 8, Hateful 8, Legacy 8, whatever y'all want to call them. But to me, Texas and Oklahoma shouldn't have to play any road games against these teams because more than likely Texas and Oklahoma won't be here in 2024. So if they play a road game against these teams, they're not going to get a return home game unless they schedule them in a non-conference way somewhere down the road. Now, the one team that I think got off real easy in this, the one team that really benefited from all this, and it don't surprise me in the least because it's the one team that has the coach that spastically wet his diapers all throughout the offseason, talking a bunch of mumbo-jumbo BS that we all know was transparent, him just having fake bravado as he always does. And that's Mr. I'm a man, I'm 53, 54, whatever his age is now. Old Mike Gundy and Oklahoma State. Looks like they got a pretty good deal on this schedule, the conference schedule. They start out at Iowa State, play Kansas State and Kansas at home, at West Virginia, Cincinnati, Oklahoma, at UCF, at Houston, and BYU. And their last 4 out of 5 conference games, and their last 3 conference games against all the newbies. Looks like an easier road was laid out for Oklahoma State. Looks like that the Big 12 is banking on them being their flag bearer. I wouldn't, if I'm them, if I'm the Big 12 and you're Mac, I don't know if I'd totally go all in on Oklahoma State because they've been known to blow it in the past. Every time they get in position to go to the playoffs or make a big splash nationally, they end up botching it and screwing the pooch and basically looking like a choker, which is what they've always been. Instead of Okie Pokey State, maybe I should call them Okie Choker State. If Brett Yormark wants to invest in a team as his flag bearer, in my opinion, if you're going to go with one that's already in the conference, it's probably TCU since they did make the national playoffs. They're the only team that's made the playoffs out of the Big 12 outside of Oklahoma. So maybe we should cater to TCU in a way. But the new team coming in, BYU, which I think was one of their best moves out of some of the more questionable moves that they've made, BYU was a great move. Pac-12 should have got them a long time ago and probably could have helped save themselves. But BYU's won a national championship. I think they're the last non-Power 5 team to win a national championship in 1984. They've got a great fan base, great following, great alumni support around the world, sort of like Notre Dame in a way. And if I'm Yormark, I'd probably try to cater to BYU more so, and maybe even West Virginia, because West Virginia has a top 15 all-time winning percentage. They haven't won a national championship yet, but they're in the top 15 of all-time wins in college football. So those 3 teams, to me, TCU, BYU, and West Virginia going forward, should be the 3 teams that maybe should be catered more to than crying-ass, wet diaper Mike Gundy. But those are the 3 schedules that really stuck out to me. I think Texas probably got the job a little bit on this. Oklahoma schedule's okay, but I do have some questions about, why they would start them off having to go on the road to Cincinnati for a new team that hasn't earned their stripes. And Oklahoma State, via the wet diaper antics of one Mike Gundy, seems like they may have got the easier road and path to having a successful season this year. And that's all I got to say about that. There's a little heart down here. If you don't mind, hit that. Throw a few dollars in the coffers. That's right. As always, KMCA to all other teams, classes now officially dismissed.